Hello, everybody. Here is your Remy Ilona once again, sipping his coffee with parted hair, bringing you the latest. The subject of my discussion this morning is my thinking about the most successful African bracket black community in the world. The community I'm referring to is the community we know as the African American community. A few weeks back, I called a few of my friends who are African Americans. I wanted to know if there is an industry that is existing that is telling the story of the struggles and survival of this unique community. The answers I got were not totally satisfactory. I have spent a great deal of time since I came to the United States of America in 2015, looking intensively and extensively at the African American society, the community, its religion, its culture, its history, and what I have seen is an unparalleled story of triumph, of success. I'm not talking as a neophyte, I'm not talking as a novice, I'm not talking as a pretender. I have written books about this community. At the Florida International University, Miami, Florida, my MA thesis was actually a synthesis of the history, religious history of this community. So I think I know a little about this community. You know, we have to be modest. That's why I say a little, but I think I know this community. And I think its story is very important, both for its own continuous growth, the growth of Africans in the continent called Africa, and the growth of humanity in general. So I want to lend my voice to telling the story of this community that I have read once, that if it were to be a country, it would be the 11th richest country in the world. The African economy, I read in one academic article once, is the 11th largest economy in the world. I think its story needs to be told, its real stories, because I think that his stories are not being properly told, just as I have always talked about Igbo history. When Igbos want to talk about, when Igbos feel they have achieved something, or most Igbos feel they have achieved something, in hubris they begin to invent tales about having existed for 1,000,000 years. They don't talk about Igbo democracy, which is the real Igbo success. Having existed for 1,000,000 years in the location called Igbo land is simply dwelling in fantasies. It didn't happen. 7,000 years ago, there were no societies recognizable by culture, identity anywhere in the world. What we had were humans. So, dreaming about having existed as Igbos 7 million years ago doesn't deserve 1 second of our attention. Likewise, I feel that the stories of the success of the African American community should be told with the real successes they have attained or they have achieved. And I feel that enough is not being told yet. Like most people in the world do not know about some of the things I mentioned about a minute ago, that they are this 11, that they possess the 11th largest economy in the world. You don't find any African country, states, because a lot of people in the world think today that to be successful you have to be a state. They are not a state, they are a community, but they have managed to bring up what I'm talking about now. So I think that this community needs to be studied more carefully to find out what makes it tick. Because actually, something has made it tick. As a historian, as a scholar, I have a fairly good idea of why they are successful. They have built a community. In the company of my friend Yedidia Eva, I attended an African American wedding in Texas about 4 years ago. I saw community. I saw communities at work. What I saw reminded me of the Igbo society when I was growing up. When people from one community will see themselves as related, that's what I saw when I attended this African American community. I saw people actually seeing one another as related people, as kinsmen, as kinswomen, as kinswomen. This is the bedrock on which this success is built. Community. They have managed against all odds to constitute themselves into a community, and when one giant is pulling a truck, or when 100 giants are pulling trucks individually, they may not succeed in getting the truck pulled. But if 10 persons, mid-size or even small size, pull a truck, the truck gets to where they want the truck to get to. So they have managed to constitute themselves into a very strong community. And my word of advice to them is keep that community one. Because there is a section of the world that has been largely left behind. African Americans, with what they have achieved, are in a good position to lead to rebuilding, to reconstruction of that section of the world that has been largely abandoned. What am I referring to? I'm referring to the continent of Africa. It has about 53 or 54 states. Some are trying to get to their feet. Some are actually going backwards. But we need a Marshall Plan, because the failures in the continent outweigh the successes by far. And I am saying that African Americans are in a position to lead the reconstruction of that part of the world, and the Caribbeans, by the way, which is like an extension of Africa. Fortunately, since my sojourn in the United States, I have come across many African Americans that I can work with. Zion Lex is one such fellow. Professor Walt Isaac is another. Michelle Britton is another. Yedidia Eva, who took me to the African American wedding, is another. Sir Amadiel, the foreign minister of the Hebrew Israelites of Jerusalem, I actually met him in Jerusalem. Unfortunately, I didn't meet Crowdy and Ben Ami Ben Israel, but I read about them and I wrote about them in this. And this. William Brown, Randall Dunisani Washington, and a host of others are African American activists that I've come across who mean very well for their community. I won't end this video. By the way, I met Amare Stodmeire in Israel. I won't end this video without talking about some things we can relate with. Since people measure success in wealth, people don't think about democracy when they think about success. People don't think about community, but people think about how much is in his accounts. Let's use that to fine tune our talk so that people will know that we are not talking off the cuff. The African American community has so many dollar billionaires. So many of them. I don't want to list them here. You know them. If you want to know who they are, Google, do some research. These guys wouldn't have become billionaires if there is no community pushing their work. I know this subject very well. When my own first community, my own immediate community, the Igbo community, was a community really. Osadebe, Oliver the Kokwe, show promoter, Sawario, Ali Chukuma, they did not have to do so much to all they needed to do to succeed was to play their music. The Igbo community will push the music. So, brothers and sisters, my ramblings, my talks, my thinking, my thoughts about this community will continue because it is one of the agencies. The African Americans are one of the agencies I am looking forward to that the world will call upon when we discuss the Marshall Plan for Africa. This is the end, but not without saying again, hit the subscribe button, share. Get our brothers and sisters to subscribe to this channel. It's bridging the gap between the motherland and the diasporas. Thank you.